And welcome back to the Escape Podcast. We are recording, Brandon. That's your cue.
Okay, welcome to the Escape Podcast. December, the surprise month, where we're doing unplanned stuff, really.
Yeah.
Our last episode was about previews that were coming out.
Right.
And we were planning on doing a Star Trek movie and a Christmas movie.
And nothing worked out.
No, the Star Trek episode should be coming soon.
Hopefully. Yeah, it might be in January. It's definitely going to be in January.
Right. So stay tuned for Star Trek Episode 5, yeah.
Final Frontier.
Merry Christmas to everybody. This is being recorded.
What is today? Today is the 29th.
Yes.
December 29th, 2019.
So, how was your Christmas?
Pretty good. How was yours?
Not too bad. I hope everybody out there had a great Christmas.
Me too. Merry Christmas.
I kind of had a Christmas miracle happen today, after Christmas.
I was there, but you can tell me.
Right. So me and Josh went to Disc Replay, which is a store near our mall here. It's kind of like a Funko-Land in a way, but they also sell movies.
Yeah, I mostly think of them as movies, but yeah, I guess they probably have more games than anything else.
Well, yeah, they've got games, they've got movies, and they've also got like TVs and laptops.
TVs, laptops, iPads, Apple Watches, all that stuff, yeah.
So we're walking around there, and we're looking. Their movies are scattered everywhere. They're kind of in alphabetical order, but... It's
better than it has been, that's for sure.
But not very much. And I'm looking, and I say, hey, I wonder if they have Drowning Mona.
And I was looking for Spice World. On
DVD, because I've been looking for that forever. It's so rare. They barely made any of them. So I'm not thinking I'm going to find it.
There's like 5 copies of it out there.
I look around for it, don't see it, and I kind of give up. I'll be like, well, maybe I'll ask them on my way out. And you stopped me to talk to me about something. I looked over, and it was right there, Drowning Mona.
I planned that for you.
Yeah, so I was
saw
pretty
it
happy.
And I was like, I'm going to stop him right here.
If you go back and listen to our Drowning Mona episode, you might remember that I was begging for it, if anybody had it, to send it to me.
Yeah, and you also did Drowning Mona on your channel, Movie Film Presents, if anyone cares to listen.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, though, but...
No.
But, yeah, he was a nobody back then.
So today we're going to be kind of doing the X-Files. This will be our second watch-along episode. You don't have to watch along. You can just listen.
Right.
But if you choose to watch along, it's going to be episode 20 of Season 3 of the X-Files. We have it up right now on Amazon Prime. Mm-hmm. I believe they also have it up on Hulu.
No, they don't.
Or if you happen to have the discs or whatever, you can watch along with us. You haven't watched very much of the X-Files, have you, Josh?
I started... okay, so I watched it a little bit when it was on here and there. I didn't ever really follow it a lot. And then I saw the first movie, but I remember thinking, like, okay, there's a lot of stuff that I need to have seen the show a lot for to really understand the movie. And then later I did see the second movie. I think it's called I Want to Believe, because it's kind of a standalone movie in that sense. And then I just... maybe a few months back, I was like, I'm going to start watching the show. So I started from season 1, obviously, and I think I got to maybe the 10th episode. Mm-hmm. And I think I can still remember, it's the one where, like, they go to, like, NASA, I think. Do you remember that one? Like, something about, there's, like, a launch, and something about something up there is going wrong. I don't know. And, like, something about the guy who's running, the head honcho of the NASA... do you know? Okay, fine. You're giving me funny looks. That's the best I can remember. But then I got distracted with stuff, so I haven't watched it since.
I think probably season 3 is where the show really starts to get creative.
Like The Next Generation?
Yeah, a lot of TV shows kind of takes a few seasons to really get their running going. But do you remember anything from that first season that stood out to you that you liked?
I remember the episode that was very much like The Thing.
Yes.
They go to like I can't remember if it was specific.
In the submarine.
What's up?
Was it like in the submarine?
No, it was like I can't remember if it was North or South Pole, but it was one of the poles, and super cold, and there was like basically this alien thing, like a little spore or something, and it would get into you, and it would cause you to, I don't know, I can't remember what the thing was, but basically you had to poop it out, I think. Do you remember that? Oh, man, I don't know. Like they had to check your body. I remember like they had to check each other naked to like find some mark. I think it was on the back of your neck or something, but I don't know why. They were checking the whole body, I remember.
Okay.
And I remember Mulder making a joke like, okay, gentlemen, it's really cold here. Like,
I remember the one where they're in a submarine and there's like a worm.
Yeah, it was a worm thing, so that might be where they're calling it back again, even at that point. But yeah, it was like a little worm thing, and I remember the dog, because they had a dog that had it, and eventually you find out that I can't remember. Oh, that was it. If you injected another one of these worms in there, they fought for control of your body. So the way you cured it was by actually purposely injecting another one, and the two creatures fought for control, and they killed each other, and then you would just pass it.
I watched
your butthole.
I watched a decent amount of it when it came on, the X-Files. I was kind of into it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed more the standalone episodes than the main storyline, which was about his sister disappearing. I never really cared that much about that.
Out your anus. That's you pass it.
But as the show went, like, they were able to do some really creative stuff. I remember one episode, it's in the later seasons, where I'll never forget, I'm flipping through my antenna TV in my room as a kid, and I stop on an episode of Cops. Do they even still have Cops nowadays?
There's a version of something like it. I don't know exactly. Cops,
so basically, cameras would follow around
Yeah.
real cops while they're doing real things and just film.
Yeah.
And those would be episodes of Cops. It was a popular show back in the early 90s. Anyway, I come across an episode of Cops, and I stopped on it. I wasn't too into the show, but it was something about it seemed weird. So they're showing the outside of a house, and all these cops are outside talking to the camera, like an episode of Cops normally would be. And you hear screaming coming from the house. The camera pans over, and this guy comes running out, and he's saying, like, there's a werewolf. And you see the werewolf, and he gets shot. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? But what
you thought you were witnessing a real thing?
Because both shows were on Fox, they were able to do this, where the whole time it was filmed as though it were an episode of Cops, but it was an episode of X-Files, and I didn't realize it at first until I saw Mulder and Scully show up.
Okay.
It was so clever and well done. I loved it. They had a number of things like that, and
I remember the Cher episode. I remember one time flipping through, and it was this episode about, like, basically the Elephant Man, teenager kid, but he was like a Cher fanatic. Do you remember this one?
It's kind of ringing a bell.
Eventually, they like took him to a Cher show or something at the end. I don't know.
Yeah, the show is a lot of fun, especially the standalone episodes, and this is one of them. This is actually my favorite episode of the season, or of the series. It's called,
really? That high?
Yeah, it's called Jose Chung's From Outer Space.
That is indeed what it's called, as I look over.
We have it paused right now in 0 seconds, 0 minutes. We're going to count it down.
0 hours.
3, 2, 1, play, and then you hit play when we say play.
Ready?
3,
2, 1, play.
All right, and here we are looking at the stars. Now, you kind of laughed at this when we watched it the first time.
So, yeah, right now you're looking at a spaceship coming in, and I was like, man, that, like, I know this was like a 90s show, but I was like, wow, these effects look pretty bad, and I noticed it's like shaking a little bit. I was like, I thought this show was a little better than that, and then the fake out is that is a cherry picker, because a guy's working on the power line. So I was like, okay, that was a pretty good fake out. I thought
that's good. Actually a good way for the show to start, because this whole episode is kind of like that. What you think you're getting, you don't get.
I'm not even sure what we got here.
Well, yeah, that's kind of the point of the episode. This was actually, critics called this one of the best episodes of an hour of television ever of all time. Yeah, they loved it. It was clever and unique.
Okay, then I guess some of it went over my head, because I didn't get. Okay, cheated. We cheated here. We watched this first.
Right. Well, you saw it for the first time an hour ago, and now we're
rewatching it again, sort of.
I didn't get it the first time either, but this episode is kind of like an onion, and the more layers you peel off, the more you find.
Okay, so right now, the guy and the girl, they're driving, the car stalls, and we're going to get this alien. I remember thinking, okay, I knew that, like, aliens were a big part of the X-Files, but I didn't. I thought it was one of those shows where you never really truly got a good glimpse of the aliens, so we're seeing them walk up here.
This is actually kind of scary, I thought.
Okay, I will admit there was a few times I got goosebumps, because it was kind of freaky. It's like right here where he's about to like grab him real fast. But also I was like, man, like, again, it's that mid 90s,
Yeah. Well, they made it look...
The suits look pretty
They made it look bad kind of on purpose, and we'll get into that as we go.
Right, and then
they don't look horrible, but they don't look right for some reason.
Okay, so is this stop motion? Is this the guy in the suit?
This is another alien that just showed up. His name is Lord Kimboat, and it is not stop motion, but they filmed it in a way to make it look like it was. I guess as a tribute to Ray Harryhausen, who did all the stop motion stuff.
Yeah, there's a specific monster that he does actually resemble the Cyclops from... Was that Jason the Argonauts or the Voyage
one
of
of those,
Sinbad?
Jason the Argonauts or Titans, Clash of the Titans.
Right, it could be. I don't know, but yeah, I think he has a whip if I remember correctly.
So I believe when this opened up, it said Kimball County.
Okay, I didn't notice that.
Or no, Class County. I'm sorry, that's what it was. That is a reference to Philip Class. He was a guy that went around in the 50s and 60s debunking all the UFO stuff that was coming out. He's the one that kind of got famous for, like, swamp gas and stuff. Like, he would come up with any excuse possible to say, no, you didn't see that. Here it is. I have that explanation for it.
Okay.
So even if, like, 2% of the cases were actually kind of mysterious, it didn't matter. He always came up with some explanation. And he was kind of a headache for people that were really trying to figure out what was going on. Okay. Here's a famous poster, I want to believe.
Why do you look so fondly on this episode?
Well, the first thing that caught me was the comedy of it. It's a comedy episode. Here's Charles Nelson Riley. Do you recognize him at all?
He does look vaguely familiar, but I can't place him.
He was on The Match Game, is probably what he's most famous for, I think. Or at least for me, that's what I recognize him from. Like Match Game 76 or whatever on Game Show Network. One of those celebrity guest panel game shows.
Okay.
He was a writer, director. He did like Broadway plays and stuff. And
all right.
He was an actor. He did a lot of goofy parts.
Okay.
The cast and crew for this episode actually said he was one of the best parts of the episode. They loved working with him. He had nicknames for everybody. And he was just a happy part of the set when they were filming this. Actually, everybody looked back on this episode really fondly. They all loved the script.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. I guess I just don't fully get the...
You have to watch this one several times to really...
appeal. So basically... a guy and girl, apparently they get abducted by these two aliens, and as they're being dragged away to the spaceship, a separate ship comes down with a different alien who apparently is almost like it's a territorial thing, like he, who got here first sort of thing. At least that's what
Well, that's how the show opens. We just saw that. So here's Charles Nelson Riley. What he's doing is he's writing a book on the case. And since Scully and Mulder are the ones who investigate it, he's talking to them now. And she's saying, okay, I'll do the interview as long as you just tell the truth. And he said, how could I possibly do that?
Okay.
Because as we're about to see, nothing makes any sense in this episode at all. Everybody's story kind of counteracts other people's stories, while some of the stories actually go along with other people's stories, to the point where nobody really knows what's going on. And that's kind of one of the themes of the episode. They keep saying, how should I know?
Including me, because I have no idea what's going on.
Every time somebody asks what's happened, they said, how should I know? And repetition is a theme of this episode, too. And we'll get to that a little bit.
So you said this was an episode you were kind of hoping to do eventually for your channel.
Yeah, I'd like to dissect it and put a video together for it eventually one day.
Hopefully you can make it make sense for me, because I don't get it.
Yeah, I will for sure. One of the fun things about this episode too is it kind of goes through separate aspects of like UFO study and kind of pokes at each one of them.
Okay.
Like here we get like your classic abduction stuff with the kids in the car stops, the aliens come out, she wakes up with the clothes inside out and backwards.
Yeah, usually I hear that when they would come back, they're usually naked. I've never heard that. No,
that's actually a common thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not up on that.
Yep.
You think after all the times they've done this, they could get it right, but maybe they just don't care.
Comedy is one of the things that stuck out to me a lot. I also kind of like the scary parts like that.
Yeah, that gave me goosebumps too there a little bit, but after that...
After that, you should be expecting it. And I think you did, because she's going to look out the window here in a second, and it kind of looks like it might be the shadow of an alien, and it's her boyfriend at the window here.
Right.
Or the kid who wants to be her boyfriend.
Yeah, he loves her.
Is that all men want? Do you recognize her?
I can say she looks a little familiar, but no, I don't.
I think she was in. Have you heard of the Ginger Snaps movies? It's werewolf movies feature. They're like, but it's girls are the main characters, and they're the. Werewolves.
I heard of that. Yeah,
I believe she's in it. She's one of two sisters, and I think she may also be in one of the Friday the 13th movies. Freddy versus
I just
Jason.
noticed his shirt slash there, which is funny because it looks more like it'd be like something like a werewolf or something.
Well, Lord Kimbo had the 3 claws.
Ah.
There's all sorts of crazy references in this movie. Lord Kimbo is one, but I can't remember off the top of my head what it is.
Okay, so the gray alien says that they are trying to help humanity, right? They're trying to help our planet, right?
Well, all we've heard them say so far is, how should I know? Because the Lord Kimbo comes down and says, what is that thing? Here we are. There's Detective Manners, who doesn't have too many manners. He's always swearing, but it gets censored in this episode.
I only thought it was funny the first time. So the first time he says something about bleeping whatever, and I thought, oh, is that some lingo that I don't remember that was big in the 90s? And then I realized, okay, they were basically like, censoring what he actually said by having him literally say the word bleeping. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of funny, but then after that, it was kind of a one and done joke for me. It didn't work after that.
Well, they didn't have too much of it. He only was in a few scenes.
Yeah, it seemed like he used it enough from it to me.
So Mulder and Scully are trying to figure out what's going on. She's given her account to Charles Nelson Riley's character, who I assume Jose Chung is swayed on it. Whatever they call it, like a pen name for him.
Oh, what is that called? Yeah. What is that called? Is it a pen name? Is that?
Yeah, pen name. So earlier,
you should know your mom writes.
Scully referenced his other book, which was something that sounded kind of like, and it's a reference to The Manchurian Candidate, which was all about somebody getting hypnotized into doing something, and hypnotization is a large part of this episode. They're about to do it to this girl here. And what I think is funny, each time they do the hypnotized scene, the actors and what she's seeing in her memories are all standing in the same spots that the actors.
Yeah, I was trying to look to see if when she says, okay, there's aliens and they're arguing and blah, 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 if they were in the same placement as the people in the room.
And she ends up getting hypnotized twice. And this first time it's the aliens, and the aliens say this is for the good of your planet. And then the second time later on, we're going to see that it's military people, and they're saying it's for the good of your country. All of it trying to keep you wondering what the heck is going on in this episode, what the truth is.
Do you know what's going on in this episode?
What really happened? I think the point is to not know.
Okay, I was going to say, because if this was something that when we got to the end we were supposed to have some big reveal, I was like, then I totally missed it.
No, it's just something there to be entertained by and to make you think. I think it's definitely rewatchable. This is probably my 10th time watching this episode, and I plan on watching it a few more times, especially if I'm going to do a video on it. Okay, she's getting hypnotized now. I think that
they made that guy so creepy.
Yeah, I was about to say that. This guy is creepier than the aliens.
Way to make a girl feel comfortable.
Yeah. So you got the two sitting on the left back there, and then the two standing behind the doctor in the chair, and then Scully standing back in the right corner.
So there's 4, 6.
Yeah. And now look, there's two sitting back on the left. And the alien on the left there was holding something like a glowing cup. That police officer in real life is sitting there holding a coffee cup.
Oh, I didn't see that. The glowing cup.
This part kind of reminds me of Fire in the Sky a little bit. A little more outlandish looking, I think, where Fire in the Sky was scarier.
Right, yeah. The aliens in Fire in the Sky actually held up remarkably well, to me, at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a combination of puppetry and people in suits. That does not look comfortable.
No, and then what's funny, this is our second watch along, and we did Schisms, which is also about alien abduction.
And starting to notice a theme here.
Because I was looking at just now the table that the boy's on. Okay, I see the glowing cup. The table that the boy's on, to some degree, certain parts of it kind of reminded me of Riker's examination table.
Yeah, and there were clicking noises. I just watched that episode with Christy. I want to rewatch it with our I want to rewatch it with our commentary and see how it holds up. I haven't actually done that yet. Go back in the archives and look for Schisms on YouTube, a watch along. Next Generation episode.
Or don't. I wouldn't do it.
Still holds up to me as one of my favorite episodes, even though...
Oh, yeah, it's a great episode. I just wouldn't listen to our episode on it.
even though they failed at the episode in their opinions.
Who said that?
The people who did the episode.
Really? About schisms?
Yeah. Well, they were hoping for a better payoff at the end. They wanted it to be scary. They said the suits were kind of a disappointment.
Yeah, not to get off topic. I think in Schisms, they shouldn't have showed the faces in the end. They should have kept them more hidden. Because once you really see the aliens in that, it is kind of disappointing. Yeah. If they would have kept them hidden, it would have worked better. But yeah, in this one, they're showing the aliens right off the bat. And yeah, they don't look all that impressive.
This is the first time where he gets censored at swearing. So, unreliable narrator is something that we've come across a few times throughout our tenure here. The first time I think that I talked about it with you was my first episode, American Psycho.
Okay.
Where you can't really trust what's going on because it's all from a viewpoint of a person who might not be able to recall things correctly.
Okay.
In American Psycho, that character was insane, so you didn't know what the heck happened. Kind of like in this episode. I love this scene. He's trapped in the cell.
Okay, and this is where because I was looking around, nothing really looks spacey about it. I was actually starting to wonder if you were going to find out that they were drugged by just regular people or sex traffickers or something.
It's one of those things where, you might notice it. It doesn't look like the inside of a spaceship, but whatever. But as the episode goes, you find out that, maybe it didn't look that way on purpose. And I love that alien's just sitting there smoking. That's one of my favorite things ever. There he goes.
Yeah, and I was thinking that was going to mean that this is really a man, that he, for whatever reason, whether he was drugged or whatever, is remembering it wrong.
It's probably that everybody is remembering everything wrong in this, although some of their stories do match up. I'll never let anything happen to you. And there she goes.
What I think it's funny, though, is he says that and he immediately backs into the corner. He doesn't try to grab her or pull her with him or hang on to her. He immediately cowers into the corner and she gets grabbed, So this is supposed to mean, or at least we're led to believe, that this is the bigger alien who has all four of them trapped, right?
Yeah. So
but what doesn't make sense about that is if
Lord Kimbot the Cyclops.
Yeah. If he has all four of them, why were the kids in their examination room?
This is not happening is another one of the lines that repeats throughout the episode.
Right. But you know what I mean? They show the kids in the gray aliens examination room at first, but now we're seeing them in a cage.
That was her under hypnosis that she said that.
Okay.
When it turns out that may not have actually been what happened, because they're going to re-examine her and she tells a different story.
What year is this, Brandon?
What year is what?
This episode.
I want to say 94, but I'm not 100% certain on that.
Show started what, 93? Or 92?
I'm not 100%
okay.
certain.
I'm just curious, no big deal. Yeah. Hey, I'm sorry, what were you about to say? I cut you off so much.
His story ends up going kind of along with Rocky's, but then it turns out Rocky may be kind of crazy.
Okay, now Rocky is the...
He's the electrician at the beginning.
Yeah, okay.
Which I think was a reference to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and there's several of those in here. You've never seen that movie, right?
Sorry. Never seen it completely from start to finish. I've seen bits and pieces. I know the ending very well.
The main character in that one, I think it's funny because each time they talk to somebody, he comes and interrupts. So-and-so is on the phone and this happens. There he is. There's Rocky. The main character in Close Encounters of the Third Kind was kind of an electrician guy, too, working for the electric company.
Okay.
Doing the same thing. I love this scene with Rocky, too. It's great. This is telling what he saw that night, because he was nearby when the kids supposedly got abducted. He wrote it all down in these papers here. Said he was awake for 48 hours straight, just writing it down, because he didn't want to miss a detail.
So, but what did he see? All he saw was the aliens and the guy and the Cyclops came up to his
Well, we'll get to that point later in the episode.
Doesn't seem like that would take 2 days to write.
But right now he's telling of the story of what happened when he was writing down his account of what happened, and his garage door just opens up by itself. Here comes this crazy car that looks like it's from 1962.
How very specific of you.
Yeah, well, I'm not a car guy. We're only in Detroit. Why should I know anything about cars?
No, it's just funny. You could have said the 60s, but you narrowed it down to 62.
It reminds me of something like the Munsters would drive. And there's Jesse Ventura, one of a few guest stars in this episode. I love the way that Jesse delivers his lines. I'm pretty sure I had read that he actually had no idea of what he was saying. He didn't understand his lines. He just read them off. Which is fine because the way it comes out is perfect.
Oh, yeah? How do you figure?
You didn't enjoy Jesse Ventura's performance?
No.
Why?
I didn't even understand what the point of you could have any Joe doing that.
So here's the thing. So it starts off with like the modern day alien abduction scenario, and it kind of goes through that a little bit. Now, if we back it up a little bit, there's always been these stories of Men in Black.
Correct.
There's two different types of Men in Black. They are the kind like Mulder and Scully, and that later in the episode they also get called Men in Black.
Yeah.
And then there's the weirder kind that don't seem maybe like they're quite human, which is what Jesse Ventura and the mysterious other one are supposed to be. And what they do is they show up and they're just weird. And here he is going on about how this guy only saw the planet Venus, which was another one of Phil Klass's arguments against UFOs, is that people were looking at the planet Venus.
Okay.
This episode keeps doing that. It keeps bringing things from like UFO mythology into it. And it kind of like points out how crazy the whole subject of UFOs is in the first place. And how can anybody ever get a tackle on it when so many different things are happening surrounding the subject. And Rocky here is going to end up starting his own UFO cult, which is another thing. Like back in the 50s, sometimes like a little old housewife, you can go back and find these clips of where a news reporter was talking to a little housewife who said that, you know, she was coming home from the grocery store and the saucer landed and the Venusians or whoever got out. They were her space brothers and they were there to help, you know? Mm-hmm. It's just another weird aspect.
Did you ever watch Fringe?
I watched a tiny bit of it.
I watched, I think...
I know it was comparable to the X-Files.
To a degree, yeah. I watched the first maybe 2 seasons, and in that show they have this thing called about the observers, which essentially are Men in Black. They, you know, but they look like they're more from the 60s with the hats they wear, like how a government agent would probably look in the 60s. But it's this thing where certain episodes actually center on the observers themselves.
Yeah.
And then
I love that there. The car backs out, goes in reverse, and just keeps going.
The clip, yeah. And then some episodes, what's interesting is if they're not about the observers at all, but you'll see them in the background. It's like it's become this Easter egg thing that I don't know if they're in literally every episode, but they're in almost every episode. Some of them as actual, like the main feature. It's kind of cool.
Oh, that is a cool idea. I like that.
That was one show like I thought that I would really like a lot. But after a while, I kind of started losing interest in it. And it felt like a chore to watch it.
It seemed interesting to me, but the one mad scientist, he was brilliant but crazy at the same time. Like the way that character came off to me just seemed a little overdone. It's not a huge criticism. It was just weird to get used to him right away because it felt like, oh, okay, this is what the character's supposed to be, so that's how they're writing him. You know what I mean? Like it's forced. It felt forced.
But the young crap. I can't remember.
So this is Rocky's perspective of what happened. He saw the big red Cyclops alien attacking the 2 gray ones as they were taking the kids to their ship, and now he's telling Rocky that he needs to take them to the inner Earth, which is where our souls go. This is all more based on more real stuff that people say.
Wait, it's based on real stuff?
Well, I mean, like UFO cults, like the Scientologists are kind of believe this kind of crap. And if you're Scientologists out there listening, then I'm sorry, unless you're Tom Cruise.
What was that? What was that one? Remember that one cult where they believed that there was a comet? And there was like a
Heaven's Gate.
Yes. That kind of reminds me of that. Like something about the...
Yeah, that didn't have such a happy ending, though.
Well, no, but I mean the idea that they thought like these aliens were something about going to take their spirits to like, I don't know, wherever.
Right.
Because I always thought
that's
the
another
idea of,
aspect of
aliens
the
and ghosts were kind of a weird idea to mix those two.
And Rocky's saying that instead of going into outer space, he went into the Earth, like
Right.
a hollow Earth type thing. That's another aspect. Some people think that maybe the UFOs are coming from inside the planet. Maybe they're not from outer space. But, you know, it's all just craziness. Like, how can you make any sense of it when it's coming from every direction? You know what I mean?
No. No, I don't. I like that wallpaper there.
Yeah. Nice hotel room.
Yeah.
So now he wants to rehypnotize the girl. And we get to see...
You don't have to tell me. I'm right here.
We get to see the second one. So now they're going to do the same thing, except it's going to be the military people. There he is. They're standing in the same spots.
Well, wait. I thought Mulder was on the far right. Now Scully's on the far right.
No, Scully was in the back corner
Was she?
before. Yeah, they're all in the exact same spots.
Fine. Far be it for me to notice something you didn't notice.
Here we go again. Like, some people think that, well, maybe UFOs are just like U.S. military type stuff, and abductions are the United States Air Force taking people to make them think that they're abducted by aliens for some reason.
I could get that. Well, hold on. If this was real, I could see where they would want people to walk away thinking, yeah, you were abducted by an alien, because who's going to believe that when someone repeats, yeah, I was in this room and blah, 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 and these aliens and this and that, no one's going to believe that. So they would just write them off as, psychos and
right,
nuts,
to make people look crazy. That's,
right, exactly.
That's one of the things they say in this episode is for the reason why they're doing things.
Yeah.
There's a military guy with the coffee in his hand. And
is there any significance to that someone's holding a cup in each
no, it's
thing,
just...
or just to have them all do some kind of uniform thing?
Scene mirroring. It's just a stylized way of doing it. It's, nice to the eye. Good for people who are paying attention. See, now he's telling her to implant the memory that, give her the regular UFO alien spiel. And the one guy said something interesting. He said, did one of these aliens have a Russian accent? So, like, the Russians are kidnapping people and doing stuff to them, too?
Yeah, it was at this point I thought
at?
maybe that they were trying to insinuate that Russians were maybe doing something to, try to just get a foothold on America or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't make sense why they would abduct just regular kids unless these kids had some, deeper, connection with maybe a dad or something that's a general or something.
In the end, the story, everybody tells a different version of what happened. Here it is. They just hypnotized, and here he comes in saying somebody's on the phone again. This time it's for a dead alien body. I love this kid, too. He's great. I was kind of trying to look at some of the posters on his wall. He's got some interesting stuff going on back there. And if you notice, I think on the right somewhere here, he actually has the same I Want to Believe poster.
Yeah, I did just see it. I was trying to figure out what his, that looks like a bed sheet or a curtain. Or
Yeah, it looks like little kid's like bed sheet that he's hung over the window.
Yeah. I was trying to figure out
So like
what
Transformers
it
or
was
something?
Yeah.
You ever walk around in the middle of the woods looking for
Yep.
UFOs?
Sure did. But I think it's funny that he wouldn't bring a camera with him.
I used to sit at I had a security job where when there was nothing going on, me and the other security guard would sit on the roof and look at the stars and stuff and talk.
Sounds romantic.
We'd keep an eye out for anything moving. We'd see things move, but I'm not going to say that they were aliens or UFOs or whatever. Probably satellites or who knows what. I believe I've seen the space station, which is kind of a weird sight. Because it's real bright and real big, and then it just kind of fades out and disappears as it zips by.
How fast do they say that stuff goes out there?
I'm sure it's going really fast, but like it went a little bit faster than an airplane is what it looked like to me. So from my point of view, not super fast.
Okay, so this is a alien that this guy tripped over in the woods. So They take it back to do an autopsy and ultimately find out it's a guy in a ridiculous suit.
I love how he says, now he's calling Mulder and Scully the Men in Black. They're the other version of the Men in Black, the government people that'll threaten you. And he said she didn't look... her hair was too red is what tipped him off.
Yeah, it doesn't imply...
And I love when Mulder just screams when he sees the body. That cracks me up every time. Now we get a reference to the alien autopsy video that was on Fox. You remember that?
We talked about this, I think, in another episode. I think
probably
I
hosted
more
by
remember
Jonathan Frakes.
hearing about it as opposed to seeing it.
Yeah. So that's obviously what this is a reference to.
What? So Fox had tried to play it off. They had an alien autopsy video.
It was aired on Fox as like a special, so they would get like a lot of viewers in that, and they were trying to pull it off as like an actual alien autopsy video. That
almost
was found.
like what was that one? It was that Orson Welles who did that thing. Man, who was that? Not Orson Welles. What am I saying? Remember back in was it the 30s or 40s?
You're talking about War of the Worlds.
Yeah, but was it Orson Welles? Why am I getting Orson Welles in this? Is that him that narrated it?
Yeah.
And a lot of people actually missed the first minute where it said this was a, just a story, and they started freaking out.
Yeah, because if you tuned in the middle of it, the way it accidentally was timed perfectly to where most people would tune in while they were in the middle of the story, the realistic sounding part of the story. Anyway, we'll get back to that. So it turns out this is a dude in a suit, and the alien autopsy video that Fox got a hold of and released in this episode was edited together to not show this part. He's so disappointed that it's a dead person for the wrong reason. And there he goes. So who is this bleep?
Yeah, because I'm not following.
Okay. If you look at his name there, it said Robert Villiers.
Okay.
It's a reference to, there's a guy named Jacques Vallée who was, I guess he still is. He's a little older now. He's a UFO researcher, but he's an actual scientist.
Okay.
And he's studied this stuff for a long time. He, I think, had a guest appearance in Close Encounters.
Okay.
That officer right there, his name is Hynek. That's a reference to J. Allen Hynek. He's the guy that led the Air Force's official investigation into UFOs in the 1960s called Project Blue Book. And he did have a cameo in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. You've probably seen him. He had thick, those horn-rimmed glasses and a goatee.
So, okay, why do you think then this military guy was dressing up as an alien?
That's what we need to figure out. What's interesting is the Air Force shows up to ask about it, and while they're out in the hallway, somebody is going to run off with the body. There, you see it's gone. So was that the Air Force come in there as a distraction so they could steal the body? That's what I'm led to assume, based on the ending of the episode.
Why would they have to even pretend? I mean, wouldn't they just say, hey, we're taking him?
Oh, we'll find out at the end.
Do we?
There he is. Yeah, you see the I Want to Believe back there?
Yeah.
Here come the more alien-like Men in Black again. I love how violent they are with them. They're just smiling at the unknown Men in Black. He could have just hit the eject button, but he rips open the VCR. And a wrestling move.
Hey, did I just see the Enterprise hanging from his...
Probably. He mentions Dungeons and Dragons later, too. He's like the super nerd. Everybody keeps telling him, you're dead, man. Roswell's. That's a fun character.
Okay, there's the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
I thought I saw an Enterprise or some kind of Federation-looking ship.
Yeah. There's some aliens to the left of his head there. There's an alien on the desk. There's an alien in the window. So you kind of feel bad for that guy a little bit when Charles Nelson Riley there, Jose Chung, is interviewing him. Just seems like a lonely guy. He would feel special if he got abducted by aliens. This scene kind of we saw Porky's today earlier in the movie store. It kind of reminds me of a scene from Porky's.
See, this reminds me of Night of the Creeps a little bit, when the college boy from the 50s or early 60s, whatever it was walking around after being woken up in the 80s.
So here's another reference to Close Encounters of the Third Kind. He's going to be playing with his mountain of mashed potatoes. This is important. This means something.
Are you a fan of that movie?
I love that movie. I'd rather watch that than E.T. as far as Spielberg's alien movies go. It scared me and fascinated me at the same time as a kid. I remember after watching it, I thought that when they would play that song, that's what kind of summoned the aliens. Mm. And then I was at my grandma's house one day, and we had like a toy xylophone there, and I figured out how to play that on the xylophone, and I scared myself by playing it. So this guy's going through the spiel of how, basically, he's saying that he's been a pilot for a long time with the Air Force, and he's been helping them abduct people, but it's not alien abductions, it's the government abducting people, then hypnotizing them into believing they were taken by aliens.
For what purpose?
I don't know.
Who is this actor? He looks kind of familiar.
He does look familiar. I remember looking him up, and he really wasn't in a whole lot. Or at least I think I remember looking him up. But he does seem so familiar, doesn't he?
I just watched this movie called Kill the Irishman, and he actually looks like a guy in that movie, but I think it can't be him because the guy in that movie was a lot younger looking, and that came out in 2011. So it couldn't be him, but he looks like him. I don't know who that actor's name is.
I love how he's trying... Throughout the series, he's always trying to piece together what everything means, and you see him doing a lot, Mulder, here in this episode. I love this guy's delivery, too.
Have you seen the whole series?
No, I've seen a good chunk of it, but not the whole thing. I know at a certain point, David Duchovny is not part of it any longer.
And it's Doggett.
Yeah.
I believe Robert Patrick.
Yeah, Robert Patrick. I love Robert Patrick, who's also in Fire in the Sky.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I just found out and realized recently, you know the band Filter?
Nope.
They do Hey Man, Nice Shot?
Nope. Don't know it.
Oh, okay. Well, the lead singer for that band is his brother.
Mm. What kind of band are they?
I love here he asks, well, who was the other hand? And he says, you mean Lord Kimbo? And Mulder kind of seems surprised that he knows his name. And there they go, hauling him off. Last time we'll see him alive.
You think they would take Mulder, too, because they'd be worried about what he
And the thing with repetition in this episode, I'm a dead man. They keep saying dead man over and over again in this episode. This scene is actually supposedly a reference to Twin Peaks. I have never watched Twin Peaks, so I can't verify it, but I guess one of the main characters in Twin Peaks is an investigator for the FBI.
He likes the pie.
And yeah, he eats pie. And I guess David Duchovny actually guest starred in an episode or two of Twin Peaks.
Yeah, he's a cross-dresser.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
This man behind the counter looks like a Muppet. Do you know what I mean?
Can see that. Yeah, he loves the coffee and the pie.
Yeah, so that's what this was a reference to.
Give me long enough, I'll remember the guy's name.
See how this episode's like an onion? There's just so many layers to everything.
No, I don't see it that way, but that's fine if you do.
There's Muppet Man.
I just see it as a bunch of random lines that go nowhere.
He's eating sweet potato pie. I've never had sweet potato pie, have you?
No, I hate pie.
Are you being serious?
Yes.
You just ate a pizza pie.
Haha.
Why don't you like pie? You're more of a cake guy?
Cake all the way.
Okay.
Cake or cupcakes? I'll take it.
I love cake, cupcakes, muffins. I'm a cakey person, but I won't turn down a slice of pie, especially pumpkin.
Yeah, pie is not my thing.
Or cheesecake. I love cheesecake.
You're stupid.
And here we are with the mysterious Men in Black again. It seems like their, quote unquote magic seems to work on everybody except for Fox.
Wait, this was that magic?
Well, everybody seems to be kind of under their spell. Like, Rocky didn't do anything when they pulled into his garage. The other kid kind of just went along with them until he got body slammed by Jesse Ventura there. Scully's kind of walking around in a daze, and she says she doesn't remember this.
Why she go get the ice? What do they need ice for?
I don't know. Actually, he says here that a lot of the things that Men in Black do or act or say or have people do are intentionally odd so that they sound funny if anybody ever tells them the story. And that way it kind of discounts the entire story, and we finally get the reveal of the second Man in Black here as Alex Trebek. Josh, who is Alex Trebek?
Who is the host of Jeopardy? Does that work for you?
Sure. Now Scully says she doesn't remember any of it. She was surprised when she woke up to find Fox in her room.
Yeah.
And Charles Nelson Riley's reaction to that is pretty humorous. Like he loves the gossip. There's the bucket of ice, which is now water. Found their bleeping UFO. We're getting towards the end of the episode here. So here's the crash.
And this is where we see the body of the pilot that Mulder was talking to, right? At the coffee house?
Both, yeah. The first one they take away is the guy that Mulder was talking to.
Yeah, I remember thinking it was funny that, usually when they carry, as far as I understand it, at least in movies, when they carry away a body, the body bag is zipped up. It almost seems like, they did leave it unzipped so that he would be able to see who they were. Of course, she says that that's what she thinks there is.
It's his hypothesis that this is all a show for them.
Yeah.
That there really wasn't a plane crash. This is all staged to hide the UFO story that's been going on in town. And that second body was the one that they were doing the autopsy on. Detective Manners back there even recognized him.
Who's Detective Manor? Which one was he?
He's the bleepity bleep guy.
Oh.
She likes to play with her earring.
I'd like to play with her earring.
Now, up to this point in the episode, he has not been able to get in contact with Mulder. Mulder wouldn't speak with him.
Oh, yeah. Why was that?
I think because he wasn't able to really piece together what happened, and he didn't want to participate in making everybody sound crazy. That's why he's there now, is to plead with him not to write the book. But then he brings up another theory that people have, is that the military funds stuff, entertainment aspects, like movies and stuff about alien invasions, to kind of desensitize us to it. So when they finally admit, whatever, that there are aliens, that we won't go crazy. Some people think that's a conspiracy.
Okay.
I don't like conspiracies. I think a lot of them are silly.
You're silly.
Which is kind of funny that I like the show as much as I do, because it's all conspiracy pretty much. Maybe that's why I like the standalone episodes the best.
So wait, you're not into conspiracy theories, but you're into
I'd say 90% of conspiracy theories are just ridiculous. And they're just people trying to make up stories, and they don't make any sense at all. Like, sometimes you'll hear people going on about this conspiracy, and they'll try to prove it by saying, oh, this is a keyword for that, and this is a code word for that. All right, if somebody's trying to do something hidden for you, are they going to leave you little clues that you can find out and spread on YouTube? And if you're on YouTube talking about it, aren't they going to shut you down? And then there's other ones where, it doesn't make any sense at all. Like, I remember hearing one about some wildfire was started by a microwave weapon that the army was testing out, and they started this fire so they can kill people that had evidence for something. One, there's a lot easier ways to kill people, and two, starting a fire is the easiest thing in the world to do. You just light a match and throw it on the ground, especially in the forest that's made out of wood. It's just ridiculous stuff. Now, there's some stuff like the JFK. Obviously, something weird happened there, you know. But I'm not necessarily going to go along with all the theories on it. And we're getting the recap of all the characters here. Rocky becomes the electrician. Here we see the cult started. Oh, I'm sorry, that wasn't Rocky. That was the kid. This is Rocky's cult here. He moved out to California. He wrote his own book. He said, assuming your soul can make it past the lava men, you can reach enlightenment at the center of the earth. I love that it's a pyramid with eyes inside of the earth. I love that symbol back there that he made.
Why? What about it?
I don't know. I just like the look of it. I think it's fun. That book cover should look somewhat familiar to you. He's got kind of a longer neck and a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, but there was a guy named Whitley Strieber who was a science fiction writer. Not a science fiction writer necessarily, kind of like a Stephen King type of writer. And he supposedly had a bunch of encounters with things, and he wrote a book called Communion, and that was the book cover for that. That was kind of a huge image back in the 90s, was his book cover for Communion. Mulder laying in bed watching Bigfoot videos. If only he had YouTube back then, he could do that all the time. I guess her encounter ended up kind of positively, her wanting to, change things for the better, although she's still kind of mean to this kid. I still love you. Is that all you men think about is love? I love that line. Yeah, I feel kind of bad for him, too. Although he's probably a little bit too quick with his emotions there. That's an interesting house. You have a double stairway leading up to the door. All right, and that's the episode. So what do you think of that episode? I know you didn't get this far when you were trying to watch it before.
I guess it's lost on me because there's so much stuff going on. Mm-hmm. I didn't really fully get what is happening. That's actually the point of the episode, though. Like, you're not really supposed to know. I guess, though,
kind of like American
for me,
Psycho.
Though, I feel like it just feels kind of sloppy because it feels like they don't know what they wanted to do. So they just threw a bunch of crap in the blender and it's kind of just slop. It just
this is intelligently written. This is a brilliant
I guess I'm just
script.
too dumb for it. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think maybe a couple times rewatching it, it'll kind of be like, oh, I don't know if you will, but
I mean, we don't know, were they really abducted by aliens? There was the Cyclops. Was any of this really happening? And then you have, as if it's something to do with the Russians, like, what is happening?
That's the intended effect of the episode.
And that's why it surprises me to find out that not so much you, because you don't surprise me with the stuff you like and don't like, Burn, but I do find it weird that this would be considered by most people as being one of the better episodes of the show.
Not just show, TV in general.
Okay, that's even more. I don't get why this episode would be considered that high.
It's a very well done script.
I guess I don't see it that way.
Well,
I'd give it an
F. Each their own.
F.
So I hope anybody out there that's watched this episode has enjoyed it. I love the episode. The comedy is great. All the little references to different things is great.
Yeah, I didn't think any of it was funny enough to laugh at.
The unreliable narrator, that I think they pulled it off well doing it. I
think you're wrong.
There's a show that's kind of popular out there right now. And it's weird because a lot of people have the same complaint that I do where, have you seen The Witcher at all? Have you heard anything about it?
I know what you're talking about. I haven't seen it, though.
It's based on some novels. The novels were turned into video games. I played the first game.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that part.
I played the first game, so I had a little bit of background into what was going on. And I'm in the middle of it right now, and I have no idea what's happening in the show because the way that they're putting it together, and I guess the books are kind of like this too, is to where nothing is being told in the correct order. but because there's so much happening and so many characters, and I don't know the time frame in which everything is happening because it's going back and forth, it's just a confusing mess, and it's so ridiculous. I'm gonna finish
Is it doing well?
It's gotten a lot of positive buzz, but I've also when I searched to see if I was the only one that was confused by it, I'm not. A lot of people are. So I'm hoping that if they do another one, that maybe they tone it down on the confusing storytelling. But anyway, this episode, I can just watch it over and over again. It's one of those things that I'm drawn to. It's not for everybody. I think it's a lot easier if you're already kind of like fascinated by the stories that they're telling in the episode. But I like how it touches on, several aspects of, because the show in general is about, the backdrop for the story is the UFO phenomenon. And
right.
They're kind of tackling it from a bunch of different angles here. And through the silliness of this episode, they're kind of pointing out the silliness of UFOs in general. Like, it's all so silly. What could it possibly mean? And we may never know. Kind of like that episode. It was, everything that happened in it was kind of silly. And what did it mean? What really happened? We may never know.
Sure. Yeah, I guess. And I don't know, to me that was its downfall, because if it was kind of like weird and confusing at first, but then in the end it all kind of made sense about what was really happening or what might actually be really happening. They didn't even give you that. They didn't even give you like a possibility, even if it was an unclear, like, I think maybe this is what's
I'm able
really,
to more...
Nothing ties up, nothing lands.
I think I'm more able to like kind of step back and look at what the point of the episode was, and you're looking for more literal, like what happened. I want the answers to all these stories, and it's just the way we see things, which is kind of like in the episode, everybody saw something different.
All right.
Yeah. So hey, whatever.
Okay. After this, I think I'll watch a real show. It's called Friends, one of the best shows ever written.
According to college women from 1996.
Oh, my goodness. Drop us a line and let us know if you're a man who likes Friends. Brandon insists that Friends is a girl show.
Nobody will do it, but it's in my opinion, and also the opinion of the people who made Seinfeld.
That show back 20 more years ago.
Friends is a Seinfeld ripoff made specifically to target college girls.
I'll admit, I have not seen Seinfeld all that much, but what little I have seen of it, I don't feel like, besides just being comedy shows, I don't see how they're really all that alike.
Show that's not about too much. It features a group of friends hanging out in an apartment and sometimes at a coffee shop, and then they take place in New York.
Okay.
That's the synopsis for both shows.
Well, there is a coffee house, yes, that, you could say that about Frasier. They're always hanging out at... essentially a coffee
Frasier
house.
was about a guy who worked at a radio station.
I know, I'm just saying, some
who's
shows can
living
have
with his dad.
similarities.
Well, there's situations there.
Mm-hmm.
Friends is just about a group of friends hanging out in an apartment.
You've watched how much of
coffee.
Friends?
Watched probably a teen number of episodes.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, you're
but
wrong.
That's what
you're
it
wrong,
is, right?
But...
I'm sure there's some storylines going on here, like they will, they won't, they thing with Rachel and Ross. Yeah, and then what's his face?
Him, yeah.
Gets hooked up with Courtney Cox.
Yeah.
Chandler.
Bing.
And I know, Smelly Cat. I'm aware of some of these things.
How did you wind up there? Little black curly hair. Little black curly hair.
When we were younger and the show was like actually still like new and fresh and they're making new episodes, I actually thought that, what's her name? Lisa Kudrow was the more attractive of the three girls. Okay. I know everybody goes on about Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah.
But looking back at it, I think maybe it was Courtney Cox for me. I don't know.
Is this where we're going with this?
Sure.
Okay.
Like, as far as being a boy looking at the girls, I think...
If you look at the first season, there's a lot of episodes, yes, where Jennifer Aniston
she's supposed to be the hot one, but I think she's least in line, last.
But I will say, there are certain episodes I was like, wow, Courtney Cox, looking pretty good. And then there's also been a few, because they made Phoebe so goofy, like she's like the really weird one. But like there was a few episodes I was like looking at her and I was like, wow, she's actually an attractive woman. But
all three of them are pretty. I just think that Jennifer Aniston was the least of the three.
I don't know if I can go there, but anyway.
I think probably Lisa Kudrow, a bonus for her, me liking her more would be her goofy personality.
Oh.
I think that's fun.
See, blondes have always been probably my least favorite. No offense to any blonde-haired women out there, but yeah, usually I never was into blondes. I dated a blonde. Big mistake. You know her. That's right.
I do.
I think so. I think you went to school
I
with her
don't.
too. Oh, you didn't know her?
No, I didn't go to school with her. She was gone by the time I got
Good
there.
for you.
I've heard about her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyhow, thanks for listening to the Escape Podcast. This has been an X-Files episode, even though we're a bit all over the place here.
Just toward the end.
Yeah.
Hope
you
just
enjoyed
trying
it.
to make things make sense like the episode. Just
Merry
go anywhere.
Christmas, you filthy animals.
Happy New Year. And this is the last episode. We're gone forever.
Until next year.
Won't happen. We're gone. Good night. Good day, whatever.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to travel through time. I bid you adieu.
Don't stop now! You can't go! All the plants are gonna die!
Where are you going? I've got to return some videotapes.
Bye, Felicia.